Hey, this is James Chambers here with ReachMillennialsNow.com. I'm excited to be with you all this morning. You all are going to get a sneak peek into a discussion that we're having in our Zoom class on how to help millennials be developed into leaders for the church. So if you're watching this here live on YouTube, I encourage you to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can know when we go live on these great discussions and be able to help reach more of this generation with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So again, welcome everybody to the session. You all had an opportunity to be able to watch the videos on session number 2 on how to do intergenerational leadership with older generations and the millennial generation. Oftentimes when we get into the church situation, there's a lot of rub that we feel, and there's a lot of complexities that we need to navigate in intergenerational leadership. So what I'm gonna do is just real quick is I'm gonna do a review of the 8 main points from the video that you all watch, and then we'll have a little dialogue around it. So we talked about 8 ways that millennials can actually help your church fulfill its mission. And the reason this is important is because oftentimes when we view millennials in the church leadership situation, we can look at some of their character, we can look at some of their personality traits or some of the ways they operate in their culture and say, hey, I don't know if we can entrust them with people's lives. I don't know if we can entrust them with responsibility of overseeing people's spiritual souls, or even doing something as simple as our technology team. I've even heard pastors say that. But there are 8 ways that millennials can really help you fulfill your church's mission. And when we're talking about millennial, we're talking about people that are probably about 38, 39 years old at the oldest, and all the way down to about maybe 24 years old, maybe. So we're talking about people that are in corporate jobs. Some of my friends that are millennials are CEOs of multi-million-dollar international corporations. And we're sometimes questioning if they can handle the leadership in the church. Now I realize that, natural leadership is different than spiritual leadership, but the Lord also called teenagers who would have been the millennial age group at this particular time as his disciples, and the first church fathers, the apostles, were in their 20s. So I want you to consider and chew on that as we get ready to have this discussion. But anyway, 8 ways millennials can help you fulfill your church's mission. Number 1, millennials have their pulse on this generation and where our society is. So if you've ever looked at the news and you've ever looked at Facebook Reels or Instagram Reels or YouTube Reels or Yahoo News, and you see these things in the culture, and you're scratching your head like, how are we here, or what's going on, or help me understand this language or what this is about. Millennials have their finger on the pulse of the culture and can help be a cultural translator for you, a cultural interpreter for you. Number 2, they tend to move in and out of diverse environments very easily, and they can help you navigate them as well. Number 3, actually, let me pause here. This is one of the biggest issue of our last year. We had diverse political environments, diverse racial environments. We had diverse environments on very many sides, and the church did not know how to go in and out of these environments very easily. And we broke a lot of social rules, and we have a social black eye right now that we're going to have to redeem in the eyes of the world. Number 3, they are digitally savvy and can help you harness the power of the internet and helpful technologies. This is very important if you're watching this during the time of COVID and the pandemic, because most of our ministry has been online for many of us across the country. They can help you pivot and not just have your videos and your sermons online as a video library, but they can actually help you reach new people and get new congregation members online. I'll tell you a little bit later about a church that planted in September that we've been working with. And they have a consistent 50 people in their church. There's some churches that's how big their whole church is. And so that's a good size average American church in North America. But also the majority of these 50 people are actually unbelievers. I got to preach at their church about a month ago, and they had me speak on evangelism of all things. And you can imagine speaking to a church of unbelievers about evangelism. That was very interesting, but they wanted to know what the gospel is, and they found out. So they are digitally savvy and can help you launch and expand your ministries through technology and the internet. Number 4, they are flexible in the ways they work and can get ministry work accomplished at times other generations may not want to. Now, older generations have a clock. They got the 9 to 5 idea. They got hey, at 7 o'clock I'm with my family and I'm done. But younger generations, millennials, we work 24/7. We don't work for 24 hours a day, but all of our day is open to work. We might play a little bit of basketball, and in between games, we're on our email, we're having phone calls, or while we're walking the dog, while we're exercising, we're doing work. It might even be 11 o'clock at night or 2 in the morning. And it's very normal for a millennial to get the job done. And so I want to encourage you that if you're a ministry leader watching this, and you're finding it's hard to get volunteers to get jobs done either last minute or get jobs done because they require an abnormal time block to get them done, millennials are your crew. Number 5, they challenge the status quo. They will not allow you to stay at the same level of bearing fruit for the Lord Jesus Christ that you have been. They're going to say, hey, how can we reach more people? Hey, how can we get more effective or more efficient? Hey, how can we become more loving and compassionate and not just have us 4 and no more and continue to serve the group we already have? How do we reach out to reach more people? Number 5, they're entrepreneurial and are willing to take risks. And in this environment with the COVID pandemic, the political election, and also doing ministry in a whole new age, this is exactly what you're going to have to do, is take risks. You're going to have to do things you've not done before. And some of your elders, some of your deacons, some of your current church leaders might be uncomfortable, but they are going to be there ready for you to take those risks with you. They are entrepreneurial by nature. Number 7, they enjoy cultivating a culture of collaboration and doing ministry as a team. As a team, this is something that you can bring to your church to help your church become healthier. I think a lot of churches are a little too top heavy, and they can round you out to be able to bring all the ministry gifts that the Lord has placed in the body to be a blessing to your body. The number 8, they are just simply fun, man. They love to help you nurture joy in your ministry context. And Jesus said, I have told you these things that your joy may be full. And I think he gave the gift of the millennial. I think that might be your spiritual gift because they help us have a lot of fun, a lot of joy in our ministries. So for those of us here in our Zoom class, unmute yourselves and let's have a little discussion. As we looked at these 8 ways that millennials can help your ministry, what are some of the initial thoughts you had as you watched the video? What are the initial questions that came to your mind? Let's just have a little conversation about it.
I mean, definitely, about their digital savviness it was a lifeline, and to be able for them to make a seamless transition into what we were experiencing without much complaint, I think showed that, they were ready for that challenge and had the patience to know that, we don't have the same environment of gathering, that in-person worship, that vibrant musical love that I think millennials have been so wonderful about. You would think that being stuck in a virtual room and not being able to have that would ruin everything. But in the end, I think that digital transition was a lot easier for them. And we're thankful for that. And we're also wanting to see how we can build on that too.
Yeah, that's great.
I think to Mike's point though, too, about that musical, I find, well, a lot of the millennials that I'm familiar with, they're very geared towards the arts, and it really speaks to them, whether it be music or anything that's creative, right? They have a real creative mindset, and those items speak to them. And for me, it's not my gift, so that's a part where I have to figure out how to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And to your point about their digital savviness, but I also find millennials, we think that we're all overscheduled, but I feel like that generation is also they take on a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where it's difficult to get their commitment on when it comes to the leadership or activities. It's a little hands off, and like, I like that idea, but it's hard for me to commit to this. I can volunteer some time here and there, but to give that overall commitment over a broad time, that's another challenge that I find.
Yeah, definitely. What are some ways that you're seeing that millennials can help you as they become leaders in your church, whether it's these 8 or if these 8 are a springboard for other ideas? What are some ways that you're thinking about your local context and you're saying, hey, man, millennials might be the best person or the best group to help me in this particular way, help our church vision in this particular way.
When you see them put together projects and activities that you can tell they're having a good time and it's so much fun, I think it raises the bar for everyone else. It shows them by example that, you know, it's worth it. It's worth stretching yourself because the end result is just so much better. It almost says, wow, look at what they did. And well, I guess we have to cobble something together to hopefully be just as good. It's not going to be as good, but so I think when they're invested, it's a lot more rewarding for the whole church. And that energy, as you say, cultivating joy and having fun and being flexible so that projects can get done is truly a blessing for just the life of the church, I think.
Amen. And what is the biggest spiritual need that people have right now in our country? You know, we've been isolated in some places, depending on where we are. We've been isolated for a very long time. The depression, the anxiety, the mental unhealth, the addiction levels that have all gone up. And the word is great, you know, and music is great. But I feel like the biggest spiritual need that we've had is that spiritual family, that relationship component that brings the joy of the faith into our lives. And so fun is going to be a huge ministry for all of us this next year. How can you incorporate fun? It might sound unspiritual, but our God is a God of laughter. Over and over again, talks about the scripture and how he laughs, and he's a God of joy. And Jesus 3 times between John 14 and 17, before he gets taken in the Garden of Gethsemane, he says, I've said these things that your joy may be full. And that was in the context of the mission and extreme persecution and telling them they were going to be martyred. So this is the hope of God, that we would be joyful people. And what are some other thoughts around either millennials being great for in terms of leadership for your church, or questions even that you might have about how you can use them?
I think what we started talking about in that first session about how millennials love community, I think that's a huge benefit. It's also has been a challenge based with COVID this last year. They have a tremendous desire for community, and so they've been having to navigate that during this time of social distancing and during the pandemic. We've seen their combination of digital savviness and trying to build community with all different methods of how to connect online, right? And that's why we also saw the boom in a lot of those connection apps, House Party, and trying to figure out Zoom games and things like that. So I think their talents are being used, but you're right. There's going to be a big explosion once people start getting the vaccines and we all start coming together again. That lingering desire that's been pent up for the last year, it's really going to explode. And from our conversations with a lot of the millennials, as we're trying to identify this leadership team, you really see that's where the heart is. The things that they care about is, how do we get back together? How do we get people excited again? We're all used to remote church to an extent. How do we break that and not just continue this concept of, well, now I can attend all these things remotely, right?
Yes.
Let's get back together, and we can tap that with their excitement and desire and say, go for it. A lot of creative ideas. We empower you with these. Just go do it.
Yeah. And you're bringing up something so powerful, Isaac. I believe the redemptive gift of the millennial generation for our time right now, and what the Lord has prepared for our church, the National Church of Jesus Christ in America, is they will bring ideas to the table to do what you just said. Increase excitement, re-entry. So we're talking about, we're re-entering to the building, we're re-entering to our normal rhythms of church. How do we cast vision in a way that excites people? Number one. And then number two, how do we create ministry opportunities or ministry environments that create that relational connection? That's what they are, and that's who they are. That's what they do. The redemptive gift of previous generations, where it might have been the teaching of the word, it might have been some other things, but this group here is going to help your church be able to be excited again, which helps your vision as a pastor, if you're a pastor watching this, or just a ministry leader, helps your vision come to pass. But then number two, will help healing take place as relationships come back together. So I hope this has been a helpful discussion and conversation for you all. If you're watching this on YouTube and this has been an encouraging conversation, I encourage you to watch the other videos in this series on the Millennials leadership. Click the subscribe button and just go to the video section here on our channel, and you can see those. We have other videos on 8 misperceptions of how we view millennials in terms of church leadership, and how those misperceptions, the truth and the reality about those misperceptions, what they really are, and how they are a gift to your church. So again, this is James Chambers with reachmillennialsnow.com. Visit reachmillennialsnow.com to get our course, and also to be able to join in